Tonight we're celebrating Miller McNeil Woodruff's 3rd birthday, along with the legacy he's left behind. He's touched so many lives, including the Oaks family. Alanny Ooaks, daughter of Maria and AJ, was born to be a little fighter, and this is the story of her battle with SMA Type III.
Well, she was born 6 weeks early, so a lot of her issues, we always thought that it was because she was premature. The doctors even thought it was always, oh, she's premature. She'll be fine. Oh, she'll be premature. She's premature, so there's no medicine we can give her. We took her to the hospital at least 10 times within 3 months. We knew something was wrong rather than it's just a premature, she's gonna grow out of it. And we heard that so many times, but you just know, as a parent, you know there's something much bigger than just her constantly being behind on just everything. It was from standing up, pulling up, to holding a bottle, to controlling her shakiness, to keeping her head up, and we just kept doing testings, and finally we found out what, thanks to Dr. Baumican, what it was, and we were clueless on SMA, what it was. We didn't even know it's out there.
When she first got the phone call saying she was diagnosed with SMA, to me, I was just like, well, it's okay, you know, there's something she could take.
There's medicine.
To me, I didn't know until I researched, I didn't know what it was. When I first heard SMA, I was like, you know, it's just a normal thing. There's something she can do, you know, she'll be fine. Until I actually researched, and that's when it hit me.
Dr. Baumican has, been really helpful. Whenever she told us about that it was SMA that she had, you knew she cared, and she was really passionate about just helping us. She didn't really tell us exactly what SMA was over the phone. She just told us, you know, it's spinal muscular atrophy, and she told us the history of spinal muscular atrophy. You know, 1 out of every 40 adults are born with this gene, and she never mentioned it's a terminal disease. She didn't want to say that over the phone. So, the next day we already had a doctor's appointment with her development doctor, and which is Dr. Carcos, and that's when she went through the whole SMA and what it was, and I just remember it being the longest day of my life.
I think it's really hard. If you've ever been in a position about hearing bad news for your own child, you know how devastating that could be and how hard it can be to hear. But you have to still put one foot in front of the other, because you're still a parent and you still have to take care of that child, but you're taking care of that child with information that no parent ever wants to hear. And so you move forward day after day, doing what you have to do as a parent, but there's always that kind of heavy burden that you have. And so some of the joy of being a parent is kind of robbed from you, and you can't get that back.
We were so just hopeless. You just get stuck in that negative, you just hate everything. And it took us a few months to just be positive again.
When I called Alanny's mom and talked to her on the phone, Meredith was the first name that I gave her as a resource, because many parents want to go to the internet, and there's a lot of good information there, but there's a lot of bad information also.
She just said that there was a family that had just gone through that, and that she was going to contact us with them, and ever since then we've been in contact.
Just to be able to link a family that's in that moment of, oh my God, I can't believe this, with someone who knows what that moment feels like, and to help them walk through that, it's been really a wonderful resource. You can't equal that in any book, on any blog site.
When you get news like that, it's so easy to sink down in a hole and get depressed, and we were determined to focus on a positive somehow. Like, we knew that his life was had purpose. You know, he was here for a reason, and no matter how long it was, he had a purpose, and we were determined to help him fulfill that. So, his purpose wasn't to go to school and graduate and be a doctor or whatever, but we say he's saved more lives than any doctor that we know of because he's helping in other ways.
Through his foundation, Miller has helped in so many ways, from raising awareness about SMA to donating funds to places that have touched the Woodruffs' lives. Even more important, helping to find a cure.
Since we were told he probably wasn't going to see his first birthday, we wanted to start a foundation, and we called it the Miller McNeil Woodruff Foundation, and this just keeps his memory alive.
You know, I just knew that they were going to do something in his name, something special, because he was a special baby and they are such special people. And what they've done with the Miller McNeil Foundation is just incredible. And the way that they've supported Mamie's poppy plates and the hospitals that they are closely connected with through Miller's journey while he was here on this earth. You know, the way that they've been able to support Washington Regional, where he was born, and Children's Hospital, where he was treated, is a gift to those families who are experiencing loss in those same hospitals.
Well, we are so thankful to the Miller McNeil Woodruff Foundation. Just the fact that Patrick and Meredith are good friends of ours, but also what they are doing with their foundation. They provide all the plates that go out to families from both hospitals. And Children's, we do not have a cutoff, so every child that passes away, no matter what age, is offered a plate.
I think when anybody loses a child, or anybody for that matter, you try to compare the losses, but if you've never lost a child, it's really, you can't compare that to losing another family member.
I can recall the day I met Patrick and Meredith and Miller, and it's one of the conversations I had with Patrick is, Patrick loves to raise money for these causes, and he's got a generous heart, and he was going on about the fundraising event that he did to support Circle. I believe that he could wear jeans to work, and what I said to him is, listen, some people live 100 years old and they'll never have the legacy that Miller has already in his short lifetime. And so his legacy does live on through our hospice home, the patient room that's provided through the fundraising events such as tonight's, and then the capital maintenance endowment gift that the Woodruffs gave to help endow the maintenance of this room. And so when families are here with their loved one, that they're in an environment that is beautiful surroundings, it's well maintained, cleaned, and everything they need. And I think it really takes all those worries away from that family so they can focus their time purely on their loved one. People that may not know what hospice is, in my opinion, they receive one of the greatest gifts from the Woodruffs in that they introduced them to what hospice is and the value of hospice for someone, even someone as young as Miller. His legacy lives on.
I think in that process, they knew that, if he were to, or if other children were to pull through this, that they would, be faced with challenges every day. And so something that was really heartful for Patrick and Meredith is, what if a child came to this facility and wasn't able to participate in something because of physical disability? What would that look like? What would that be like if Miller wouldn't have had that opportunity? And so what they have decided, and what we have kind of felt like was a great match, is that the money that they donated will be for a wheelchair accessible piece of equipment that will get children with special needs an opportunity to be able to be in a large Walmart truck, doing the buttons, pulling. It's something that probably most of them will have never had that opportunity because the wheelchair accessibility, is expensive. And so I think it's just neat that they were such visionaries and was thinking about the future, not just so much for Miller, but for other children with these genetic disorders.
When we look back 3 years ago, when Miller was born, what was really going on then, what the opportunities were compared to now. We really kind of had one clinical trial starting up 3 years ago. Now we actually have 4 new drugs specifically designed for SMA, each one of these, that are now in clinical trials. So there's 2 things that's really doing. One, it's giving families that are diagnosed today the chance to get into a clinical trial, which is a huge step to actually have that chance, not just to hear about research that's going on in an academic lab, but to actually get into a clinical trial, have the chance to be part of this research themselves. The other thing that it does is says to all these families, this hope is real. We've been talking about research for a while. As soon as it gets to this stage of clinical trial, it says to all these families, even if they're not in the clinical trial themselves, things are happening, things are moving forward. We're advancing, we're getting closer now than we've ever been to what we want, the treatment and cure for this disease. And when we look over 3 years, what Miller's done with supporting this research, he's a key part. He's a key part of what we've been able to do, the advances that we've made, letting people participate and giving hope to those families. It's started to get to the point of us realizing that we are going to get a treatment out here. That we've been talking about it for quite a long time, but in these last 3 years, the things that we've seen work, move forward successfully, have really said we are going to get to a treatment and cure from this. But it's also the help for today as well. So what they've decided to do is to look for some local families in Arkansas and help them actually get to this huge conference that we put on every year, the annual Spinal Muscular Atrophy Conference, where we bring together families from across the world, the leading researchers who are developing the treatments and the cure, and then care providers, doctors and nurses, people like that as well. We bring them all together in one place.
Right when we found out that she had SMA, within like that following week, that's when they were having the SMA conference in Disneyland. But it was such a short time that I just couldn't, I was still trying to wrap everything, and it's like, you know, there's a conference and we want to go, but it was too much of a short notice. So we had made a promise that we were going to go this year. And I had gotten a job, and Meredith heard that I had gotten a job to pay for this, and when she found out the next day, she's like, we need to go to lunch. I was like, okay. So, and then she surprised us, and her and Patrick, and I was crying. My husband was speechless, and he's never speechless, so they're making everything so much easier for us, and just everyone in the community, everyone that's helping, it's like they're helping us a lot.
Well, I think we would all love to have a cure. We'd like to have a cure today, not even tomorrow. And I think that, you know, families like Meredith and that fight not only for their own child, but fight for other children and develop foundations. And there's lots of foundations across the United States of parents who are fighting for their kids and for other parents' children with SMA. That's ultimately what's going to win this fight, is when we have enough money channeled into research and enough interest.
It takes families like this raising the funds from their friends and families in the local community to drive the research forward. It just doesn't happen on its own. One of the things that we're seeing now is we are getting the biotech and the pharmaceutical companies coming into the field, taking on these programs and doing the clinical trials. But that only happens after families step up and kickstart the whole process. So it's that on a practical stage that we wouldn't be where we are now having the clinical trials going on if it wasn't for families making that kind of first step, kicking the research off. It does something else as well, though. It's really that the more emotional side for families to decide they're not going to back away, that they've been hit by this devastating loss, but they don't just close their doors and go away. They decide, no, we're going to fight. We're going to make sure that while we've gone through this as a family, we're going to make sure that others don't in the future. And so for families to take that step, to decide that they're going to be proactive, they're going to fight, they're not just going to give up and ignore what's happened, that's a very tough step. And I think there's that side to this disease where we see a family say, we're going to fight back.
She's a little fighter. She's a little fighter.
Yeah.
She don't give up. She don't give up easy.
Mm-mm. No, she's very independent. She likes doing her stuff by herself, and when she falls, she'll get up and she keeps going. Seeing so much fight in her, we can't give up.
Miller, Alanny, the other children fighting SMA and their families, they need your help. So on this special night, let's all celebrate Miller, his birthday. Happy 3rd birthday, Miller.
Happy birthday, Miller.
I'm with Miller. Happy birthday, Miller.
I'm with Miller. Happy birthday, Miller.
Happy birthday, Miller.